Today we're traveling across the pond to Paris, France, to explore the mysteries of the catacombs. When you think of Paris, you probably think of the Eiffel Tower, Louvre, Notre Dame, Sacré-Cœur, the shopping, Moulin Rouge, glamour, nightlife, culture. But Paris also has a very dark secret about 50 feet beneath its surface. More than 3 times the size of the living city above ground. 6 million occupants. The only thing is, they're all dead. The catacombs actually cover about 1/3 of the ground under the city. Carved into stone directly above the entryway of the catacombs, it reads, catacombs are absolutely massive. Only a very small part have been open for the public to visit. The only way to describe the catacombs is a macabre underground labyrinth that has been turned into a very strange piece of art with human bone as the medium. So, how did it happen? Why is it there? And who made it? Most of the buildings in the stunning architecture of Paris are made of a material called limestone. The very originally named King Louis XVI was the Emperor of France at the time. And King Louis had 2 significant problems. The first big problem was that they had done so much mining and chunked out so much of the ground underneath Paris that those heavy buildings were starting to collapse straight into sinkholes. Entire neighborhoods, poof. Why would anyone dig out the ground beneath their own buildings? They didn't exactly plan it that way. These guys may have been accomplishing some architectural wonders, but they really needed to brush up on their physics. When they started to dig, it was actually on the outskirts of the city. As the city grew, didn't really remember or coordinate where they had been digging. More buildings went up, and they started to go up above completely hollow ground. At the same time, the city had grown faster than it could handle with its medical technology. They didn't have the ability to preserve their dead, and when people died, they were interred very shallowly in the ground. Mortality rates were higher, people died younger. King Louis XVI now had more deceased residents than living ones. When bodies start to disintegrate just a couple of feet under the ground, and there's more of them than the ground can reabsorb, really nasty byproducts happen. These bodies were literally oozing out into the streets. King Louis XVI must have had a eureka moment. Suddenly, all of this underground space must have seemed much more convenient. The Parisians got to work reinforcing these tunnels and exhuming their dead. They went about this with all the efficiency you might expect from any governmental work. The bones of society's elite and its nameless, all mixed together. You got space? Dump them in. Scandalous. It was a cluster. People weren't comfortable with the idea that all of these bones of mixed classes of people were just sitting unmarked, and they decided to sort of embrace this history. A French architect named Claude Nicolas Ladau, I may have pronounced that name wrong, arranged the bones into surreal patterns within the labyrinth of the quarries. He grouped long bones together and skulls together to basically create mosaics out of bones and create images within these caverns. The effect is as unsettling as you would think it is. I found this one photo of myself standing in front of a wall of long bones of some sort, and I have to tell you that look on my face is exactly how I felt at the time. So other really cool things these quarries were used for other than as a mass cemetery. They were actually used as passages and strongholds during World War II for the Nazis and for the resistance. There was a classic old brewery kept in here, like a secret brewery. And of course, there's the criminal underbelly of Paris that cannot resist the catacombs. There's one group called Les UX. They go to elaborate measures, wiring electricity, bringing in theater projections, pop-up bars. For adventurers and cultists alike, the catacombs are a mecca for the weird. It sounds kind of cool, but pedophiles who deface the catacombs are a real problem. Walking through these halls, I noticed a lot of skulls that have gruesome drawings and paint and graffiti on them. It gave me chills. Personally, my hairs stood on end when I just brushed up against the vicinity of these bones. The pathways are so narrow. I had this one moment where I tried to back as far away as I could against the walkway to really look at the skulls that I was seeing in front of me, and my hairs and my neck just stood on end. And I realized I was probably just grazing the edges of all the bones and skulls behind me. I remember looking at some of those skulls in the more prominent parts of the tours that had writing and marks on them, and just wondering who they were, what the faces on those bones must have looked like, and what twerp wrote on them with a permanent marker. Very closed in, it's very claustrophobic. It's very, very creepy. And there's even some cases of criminals tunneling through the catacombs into wealthy residents' homes to pull off robberies from their safes and from their houses. There you have it, the Catacombs of Paris. If you find yourself in Paris and you're not too claustrophobic, definitely visit the catacombs, Avenue Colonel Henry Rotenguy. But I would definitely make reservations in advance because I waited in line forever. Actually didn't plan very well, and I went 3 times. First 2 times the place was closed during supposedly open hours because of local holidays. But I would definitely buy your tickets in advance. Catacombs.paris.fr. I used the book Paris Encounter by Lonely Planet. It's super practical. I really do recommend this little handheld book. I brought it everywhere. There were maps in it, and I used it to trot the city on foot. I also don't recommend walking the city in boots. Definitely don't recommend descending the 130 stairs into the catacombs like I did. Good for fashion, bad for your feet. So put on your comfortable walking shoes and make reservations in advance. Stay salty, Paris.